This is Mixlot Production.
A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the program Money Talk. Now, when you go to where the common denominator we are talking about is money, go to construction and building, go to that local woman selling akara or selling in the market, go to financial institutions, whether public or private, go to trade and investment. The common denominator here is money, and that is what we are talking about. Welcome to the program Money Talk. Now you can be part of this program by calling the number displayed on your screen. You can sponsor this program or advertise your businesses on this program, and we'll be very glad to hear from you. Now you can also interact with us through your social media platform, through our Facebook account Money Talk ITV, and our Twitter account. Our Gmail is there, moneytalkitv at gmail.com, and our Twitter account, moneytalkitv18, to be part of this program. Now, on the log today, we're looking at the passage of the NFIU bill. That is the National Financial Intelligence Unit. The granting of autonomy to that unit as far as that bill is concerned. It was domiciled in the EFCC, but now it has been moved fully to the Central Bank of Nigeria, and we'll be looking at what the consequences are if that financial autonomy was not given to the NFIU. What would it have cost us? We'll first of all look at the establishment of NFIU. NFIU, what it seeks to attain is to comply with international standards on combating money laundering and financing of terrorism and proliferation. You can remember that, a committee that was set up by the former president of South Africa said so much is, laundered in Africa to order more developed economy. And if you look at African leaders very well till today, so many African countries are still recovering money that some of their leaders, launder to other parts of the country, especially Switzerland, which is a heaven for people who launder money. And then we look at the establishment. The establishment of Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit is based on the requirement of Recommendation 29 of the Financial Action Task Force Standard and Article 14 of United Nations Convention Against Corruption. The NFIU was admitted into the Egmont Group of FIUs in 2007. The Egmont Group is a global body responsible for setting standards on best practices for financial institution units, and it's made up of over 156 countries. It was founded in 1995. And when was it established in Nigeria? It was established in 2014 and became fully operational in 2015. That is when President Olusegun Obasanjo was still the president of Nigeria. The unit has since then sought to develop standards and procedures for the receipt, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence to law enforcement agencies, perform on-site and off-site examination of financial institutions, enhance compliance with the legal and regulatory regimes on anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism in Nigeria, as well as respond to the global trend by collaborating with other FIUs worldwide. Now, it has taken Nigeria so long to, ensure that the NFIU has its own financial, autonomy to be able to operate as it ought to operate. And you'll be wondering what the function of this NFIU is. The NFIU has the responsibility to receive currency transactions reports, suspicious transaction reports, currency declaration reports, and other information relating to money laundering and terrorist financing activities from financial institutions and designated non-financial institutions. And it also has to maintain a comprehensive financial intelligence database for information collection, analysis, and exchange with counterpart FIUs and law enforcement agencies around the world. It also advised the government and regulatory authorities on prevention and combating of economic and financial crimes, provide information relating to the commission of an offense by entities and subjects linked to another jurisdiction to foreign financial intelligence unit based on membership of Egmont Group or on the basis of bilateral cooperation, and promotes public awareness and understanding of matters relating to economic and financial crimes, money laundering and financing of terrorist activities, liaise with compliance officers and ensure strong compliance culture by reporting entities. And it would be recalled that in 2017, Nigeria was suspended from Egmont Group. What was the cause? Financial autonomy was not granted, to NFIU, and it was suspended from that group. What does this group do? Among other things, it ensures that, finances are not laundered from one country to the other, and to ensure that information regarding to, the financing of terrorist group is leaked to the country which is a member. And Nigeria has been battling with issue of money laundering and financing of terrorist activities, especially the dreaded Boko Haram insurgency. And there was every need for Nigeria to remain a member of Egmont Group to be able to get whatsoever it needs to get in terms of who was responsible in financing terrorist activities and how much money was laundered out of the country. At the turn up of this administration, President Muhammadu Buhari made, one of his agenda to fight corruption and everything that has to do with corruption, and is well known for that. If there was autonomy given to this, unit, it means that it would have been much more faster to get information from other member countries and, try to deal with issues of tax evasion and other means of, moving money outside Nigeria to other countries and safe havens where those monies will be kept. And Nigeria was suspended in 2017. The Egmont Group is built to hold its, conference between the 11th and 16th of this month. That is just next week the conference is supposed to hold. And if Nigeria had not passed this bill, as it has been done, it means Nigeria would have been suspended from that group. And, it also interests you to know that there are so many, entities, conglomerates around the world that wants to do business with a particular country, let's say Nigeria, for instance. And they might be scared of coming to Nigeria directly, but if they know that Nigeria is a member of Egmont Group, they go to Egmont Group to ensure that they pass that transaction or they pass that business through the Egmont Group down to Nigeria, so that in terms of any shocks, resulting from global meltdown, they can easily go back to the group, and ensure that their money is secured, and then to ensure that they are not shortchanged in terms of what it means to do business. So you could imagine if Nigeria has been expelled from that group, it means so many institutions around the world that want to do business with Nigeria would not be able to do such businesses, and we will be losing so much in terms of direct foreign investment. Other consequences if Nigeria was expelled include Nigeria will be listed as a high-risk jurisdiction country with far-reaching implication. High-risk jurisdiction country with far-reaching implication. And reports that come from, the well-reputable Egmont Group, will ensure that no one will be able to stick out their neck to want to do business with Nigeria. So it means Nigeria will be losing in terms of, foreign direct investment. And the Egmont Group, and when expired, Nigeria would no longer benefit from financial intelligence shared by other 156 member countries, including the United States of America and the UK, while the country's ability to recover stolen funds abroad will be hampered. And we know how much, so much has been recovered, and so much is still there to be recovered from some of these foreign countries, especially from the UK and the US. So if Nigeria has been expelled between 11th and 16th of this month as a result of non-passage of this bill, it means, so much that is stuck there abroad in terms of Nigeria finances will not be able to be recovered. So it means those monies would have been lost. Thank God the National Assembly has done what it ought to be done, because there was discrepancy between the House of Representatives and the Senate on where NFIU will be domiciled. It was first of all domiciled in the EFCC, and EFCC was responsible for collecting financial intelligence and also dealing with it. But it was supposed to be stationed outside the EFCC so that financial, intelligence will be collected from other member countries and then forwarded to prosecution agencies like the EFCC. But no wonder the Senate has done what is supposed to be done, and they've all agreed to station it in the Central Bank of Nigeria. That means there will be a directorate in the Central Bank of Nigeria, headed by a director, who is versed in financial matters and financial intelligence. And this director will be appointed by the president on the recommendation of the Attorney General of the Federation, with confirmation from the Nigeria Senate. And he is, expected to, first of all, have a term of 5 years. And it can be renewed for another 5 years if the president deem it fit and the Senate reconfirm the nominee. Another major consequence will be the blacklisting of Nigeria in its national finance. And this could affect the use of credit cards, as the credit line offered by corresponding banks would be cut off. In fact, financing instruments from Nigeria may not be honored abroad. And you know what it means. So many Nigerians school abroad, and so many Nigerians also, travel abroad for their medical attention. It means if you move from Nigeria to any country around the world, you will not be able to use your credit card, which is domiciled here in Nigeria, to be able to carry out transactions outside the country. And you know what that would mean to Nigeria. Most of the people moving outside, or sending their children outside the country to school will not be able to, finance, the school fees of their children. And those moving for treatment of one terminal illness or the other will not be able to, finance their health bills. Maybe that would have been another advantage in disguise, where Nigeria would try to ensure that they put health facilities on ground to ensure that Nigerians don't move outside the shores of this country to go to hospital. But I think the disadvantage is more grievous than the advantage of trying to put our health facility in order. It could also affect the international rating of Nigeria financial institutions, restricting their access to some major international transaction. Nigeria would have been completely removed and blacklisted from that organization. And then the blacklisting of Nigeria in 2001, for instance, prevented the banks from engaging in corresponding banking with foreign institutions, and also denied Nigerian access and ability to use foreign credit cards. It means Nigeria has already been blacklisted, and now again it was going to happen for the second time. And the National Financial Institution units collect information on suspicious or unusual financial activities from financial industry and other entities or professions required to report transactions suspected of being money laundering and terrorism financing. And as the law stipulates now, you cannot, send or move with more than $10,000 US when you are sending it outside the country. It must not be more than 10,000 US dollars. And once that is done, the advantage is that once this is done, there is an alert, sent to the NFIU of Nigeria to alert them that someone has, transacted about in excess or up to or in excess of 10,000 US dollars to somewhere outside the country, and the NFI unit will move immediately to ensure that they know what that money was meant for and who exactly made that transaction to anywhere outside the country. So part of the reporting requirements of NIU includes reports of international transfers of funds and securities exceeding 10,000 US dollars or Naira equivalent as required by Section 2, subsection 1 of LMP. Then a suspicious transaction reports relating to potential money laundering activities from reporting entities. Then the SRTs mentioned under Section 6, subsection 2 of the MLPA 2011 shall be reported exclusively to the NFIU to aid intelligence gathering and in line with Financial Action Task Force 2012 recommendations 20 and 29. Then declaration reports of more than 10,000 US dollars or its equivalent made to the Nigerian Customs pursuant to the Foreign Exchange Act 1995 and Section 2, subsection 3 of MLP Act 2011. Part of the specifications, part of the requirement is that if you are traveling with more than 10,000 US dollars, you have to declare it at customs. So if you have ever been asked to declare the money you have with you at the custom, know that it was in compliance with the Nigeria Finance Intelligence Unit as a member of Finance Intelligence Unit of the world, which is under the umbrella of Egmont Group. Then the currency transaction reports, the CTRs, that should be submitted directly to NFIU from the reporting entities as provided in Section 10 of the MLP Act 2011 as amended. Application of freezing measures under Section 6 subsection 5B of MLP Act 2011 as amended. Mandatory disclosures by financial institutions and other individuals voluntarily related to single transaction, lodgement or transfer of funds in excess of 5 million naira or 5 million naira or 1 million naira by an individual and 10 million naira or 5 million naira by corporate entities as provided in Section 10, subsection 1 and 2 of NLP. So it means at every point in time, as an individual, you make transactions of about 5 million naira. There is an alert that is sent somewhere to ensure that those money lodgements are in line with the disclosure of financial institutions. And then as a corporate organization, when you send 10 or 5 million naira by corporate entity as provided by Section 10, the NFIU is alerted. It was formerly in the EFCC. Now that it has been granted autonomy, the unit will be fully domiciled in the Central Bank of Nigeria to deal with issues of financial intelligence and recommendation for prosecution if anybody or an entity violates any of the specification by NFIUs. That is the NFIU you need to know about the NFIU. Now that it's going to be a director that will be heading that unit at the CBN, it now behoves on the authority who is expected to recommend a director who is the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice to ensure that a competent person, if the president assents to this bill and it becomes a law, a competent financial analyst should be appointed. This should not and shouldn't have anything to do with political leanings because we are talking about dealing with financial intelligence here. It should be someone who is versed in that area that will be appointed to head that unit and to carry out the mandate as it is stipulated in the Act. And now we move to, the transparency and accountability in management of finances of a country. And we're going to take a look at a video from Saudi Arabia where the crude oil exploration from Saudi Arabia is managed from the point where it is taken from the wells down to where it is transported on seas. And we'll talk about that shortly after this video.
Heart of our operation. This is the nerve center.
It keeps going. Look at this. This is gigantic. He gave us a tour of the company's command center, where engineers scrutinize and analyze every aspect of the company's operations on a 220-foot digital screen.
Every facility in the kingdom, every drop of oil that comes from the ground is monitored in real time.
In this room?
In this room. And we have control of each and every facility, each and every pipeline, each and every valve on the pipeline, and therefore we know exactly what is happening in the system from A to Z.
What this map shows is all the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. That big green blob in the middle is Ghawar, the largest onshore oil field in the world. And the one on top is Safaniya, the largest offshore oil field in the world. And these green squares are super tankers that are being monitored on the high seas in real time. So there's not anything that goes on with oil, with Saudi Arabian oil, that isn't known in this room right now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How much did this facility cost you?
A lot of money.
Okay, that is a big facility there in Saudi Arabia where, everything is monitored. A lot of money is spent to put that together, and it is connected to all, the crude oil wells they have in Saudi Arabia, and everything is monitored in that room, and not even, a barrel of crude oil from Saudi Arabia is lost from the point of exploration to the point where it is on sea and where it is exported to other countries. The question we need to ask here is that when will Nigeria get to that point? When do we get to that point where we begin to monitor what is explored, especially in the Niger Delta? We've not had so much of this facility, and a lot of issues with transparency and accountability when it comes to knowing exactly the number of knowing exactly how many barrel of crude oil Nigeria explores a day. Today they tell you about, every time you hear about it, even from the NNPC, they will tell you about 1,000. About 1.6 million, about 1.8 million, about 2 million, because there are no facilities to monitor exactly what has been explored. Apart from that, we have issues of, so much of black marketers, some of them in the Niger Delta, who deal in exploration of crude oil in other means other than the approved means by the law. So what do we need to do? We've been talking so much about some illegal refineries around the Niger Delta and what can be done to ensure that we stem that tide, and the only means is to adopt a technology like this, like we have in Saudi Arabia, to ensure that we monitor wherever, whenever, whatever is taken out of the oil wells. Through that, Nigeria will be able to fight oil bunkering, which has been a very difficult issue in the country and has made so many Nigerians wealthy while the population began to suffer. And just last week, Nigeria launched the first Trade for Modernization, Growth and Job Creation report. And that report showed the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment as one of the components that have contributed so much in the gross domestic product of Nigeria, especially in the fourth quarter, apart from the agricultural sector. And it is said that that sector alone has contributed about 10 million jobs, and it is second only to agriculture, the contribution to the GDP of the country. Now, the chief statistician general of the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics was at that event, and he has this to say.
When you have so many agencies under one ministry, all demanding data, and once you find people looking for that data, it's a clear indication that they are trying to understand the problem, they are trying to measure the problem, they are trying to ensure that their prescriptions, their policies that they introduce actually will solve the problem. So I think that's one thing I can understand that is clear that is happening in the Ministry of Trade. And like I said, I've been Aisha General now. I've seen a couple of ministers, especially investment. I've seen several chief executives of those parastatals, and I think, like I said, this is the biggest pressure as far as data is concerned. In terms of, you want the data, in terms of give us your staff, in terms of, it has been immense pressure.
And that is the Statistician General of the National Bureau of Statistics, Yemi Kale, talking about the importance of, generating and using data. And until every segment of the economy begin to value the use of data and analyze them properly, and then fashion the way forward, we will not be able to move forward. On that note, we wrap up today's segment of the program, Money Talk. We'll be here again next week, Wednesday, to intimate you of issues, every other issue that has to do with money. Until then, I am Gabriel Kuma, your host, saying you have a lovely day ahead of you.